Have you ever listened to something that didn't just speak to you, but it pulled you into its own world? That pretty much describes Frank Ocean's music. He needs no introduction, so I think it's safe to say I can skip that part. Anyway, it's been 8 years since his last studio release, Blonde, and fans are growing feral for new music, but no fear. About a week ago, he dropped a new snippet, and people are already going crazy about it, and I was too. So after listening to it about 1,000 times, I made a list of a couple things that every artist should learn from Frank Ocean's production style and his creative process, and I'm going to share that with you guys. And also I made a demo track from everything that you're going to learn in this video, so I'm not just lying. I'm going to practice what I preach. Anyway, here is the point of reference and the snippet itself.
I've been stripped of a lot as much as I've been gifted. We got history, now all of a sudden I'm a mystery. And the feeling's alive, but what feeling is it? Think your love's a mirage, always in the distance.
The first thing I'll be going over is the production, and I know the production in this song specifically is very simple. It's just the guitar and some bass, but I guarantee that you'll get a lot farther by actually studying the artist you know. So I'm not going to copy the guitar and the bass. I'm going to use completely different instruments. I'm going to try to build a formula, and here it is. My first idea on how to get a Frank Ocean-esque sound is to focus on the distance between your chords, trying to add simple variation but not making a large distance between the chords. The subtle movements can make the most difference. Water moves mountains. To focus on the subtlety, the chord progression I'm using is a simple 2-3 progression in the key of C minor. The best way to make these chords interesting is to use 7ths, 9ths, diminished chords, and inversions. That was the chord progression without any effects. The first chord I use is a D minor 9 with the 9 copied down an octave to make a small inversion. The next chord is a C minor add 8, and then a chord after that is the same D minor 9. But the last chord is an E minor 7 diminished chord that goes back into a regular E minor 7 chord with the octave switched around to add some subtle variation. The most important thing is definitely the strumming of the chords, because the chords sound good even without the processing, just because they were being strummed. If they weren't strummed, they would sound pretty terrible. The next thing I want to talk about is the effects I used on the piano. This is the only time I'll be talking about mixing in this video, just because I want to make a separate video for learning how to mix in general. So take what you can get. The first effect I added is a hyper chorus to create an atmospheric effect. The next thing I added was an EQ to separate the frequencies. The first thing I took out was the bass, followed by a little bit of the high so they don't clash. The last thing I added on this chain was a phaser to increase the movement of the atmosphere we created with the chorus. That right there was some of the guitar I added in. It's just some basic stuff. I just literally looked up what chords I was playing online and I played them on my guitar. The next thing I'm going to do is I'm going to show you how to resample chords, which is commonly found in Drake and Brent Faiyaz type of songs. The whole purpose of this is simply to create atmosphere, and I know I'm talking about atmosphere so much, but if you plan on bringing someone into your world, you can't do that without a certain atmosphere. That's what it sounds like. The first thing you want to do is you want to render your piano as an audio file. Then you want to resample the file in Audio Editor. How you do this is by editing the sample rate, and I don't know exactly what it does besides stretch everything out, but it's in every single Brent Faiyaz tutorial on YouTube, so I'm doing something right. The best ranges to go in is anywhere from 15 to 20,000 approximately, and it will be out of range, so you can readjust it later or just cut it like I did. The last part is the bass. This is just a very simple bass that follows the chord progression, and I did a submix on it, made sure it stayed within the frequencies that I had cut out on the piano, so it is the most distinguishable. And then here I added some kicks. Very optional, very simple, anyone can do it. Anyway, I'm gonna get to the next part. See you there. Before we go to the next section, I wanted to focus on the idea that even if you can't hear it, you should be able to feel it. That's why I want all artists to focus on more atmosphere like Frank Ocean. As someone who's been through tutorial hell on YouTube, I can tell you that all YouTube tutorials fall short of the lyrics. In any tutorial on any artist, the drop in quality at the section they teach you about lyrics is very substantial in all tutorials I've seen. And they literally just tell you how to feel like the artist or what feelings the artist uses to write their music. I'm teaching you guys how to write like Frank Ocean, not feel like Frank Ocean. So without that being said, I'm gonna get to the actual writing part. There's 3 main ideas that are gonna help you improve your writing, and here they are. The first aspect of writing that Frank Ocean uses to stand out is his use of tempo while delivering. I have this idea that if your instrumental is simple, then your vocals can be experimental. If your beat is experimental, your vocals can be simple. It's a balance. Usually when they're both simple, the song doesn't sound that interesting. When they're both experimental, the song might be too experimental. But working with a simple beat like this, the best way to take advantage of it is tempo. Most artists, when they want to speed up or slow down in a song, they switch their flows. But what's common in Frank Ocean songs, he's able to slow down, speed up between bars without switching its flows while changing the tempo dynamically. That's the first aspect, tempo. The second aspect, and possibly the most important, is flows and counterflows. When I first started making music, I had trouble writing longer verses because they just didn't seem interesting to me. And if I were to switch flows too many times in one verse, it seemed too sporadic. Until studying Frank Ocean's music and other artists that I enjoy, I realized most artists, they base their verses off of 2 or 3 variations of one flow, and whether that variation be a little bit longer, a little bit faster, a little bit slower, or a slightly different rhyme scheme or a slightly different use of syllables, they would always alternate between the main flow and the alternate flow at moments of excitement. This is like the idea of having miniature hooks inside of your verses to kind of get people's ears wondering what's going to happen next. That little bit of variation, the idea of resonance, then dissonance, getting home, then going back, then wanting to go home, then returning. It's the whole idea that's going to get people to actually like your verses and like your music. The last one, and possibly my favorite, is poetry. And I know that sounds pretty basic and boring, but just bear with me. One thing I noticed from analyzing Frank Ocean's music is that he really likes to use known sayings, and he likes to use poems, and he likes to use things that people have heard before, like stuff you'd hear in a barbershop. And then he uses those and he expands on them. He makes them his own, so that tells the brain, this is familiar, but it sounds better. That's why it's so important to use figurative language and kind of bring the people into your world. Use allusions, make references, take sayings that you know and apply it to other things. With that being said, that's about all the advice I can give you in this little short video I wanted to make. Now let's apply what we've learned, and let me show you guys that I actually mean business. Read your body, I can feel the difference. I done lost a couple friends over split decisions. Ego took the pen from me, ink got the spilling. Telling secrets stop my mind from healing. I retired from this way of living. Used to hate you, now I hate I can't forgive you. Put it aside, you too much to deal with. So this ain't what you want. Tell me what you want. Pop up diamonds on your chain. Head to toe down in Sailor Run. Had you head to toe in Sailor Run. Diamonds on your chain. Get what you want, babe. Couldn't even read around my friends. I know how it is. I know you a homebody. Now you're doing things I don't know about it. Don't know if I miss you. Don't know if I miss you. Tell me below what you thought of my song in the comments. I'm new to this whole YouTube thing. This is actually my first YouTube video that's actually like long form, so excited to do more. Like, follow, subscribe, or not. See you guys in the next video, maybe.